So, Middlemarch are a natural environment consulting company and they're seeking a new chair for their board. This is a paid board role, and all the details are listed on Dynamic Boards in the links below. Today, we've got Tom Docker, the MD of Middlemarch, and Beth Nicholson, the chair of Middlemarch's parent organisation, Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, with us to bring the role to life. So, to kick us off, Tom, what's the mission of Middlemarch?
The mission of Middlemarch is to deliver value in nature. I'm aware that delivering value in nature is a reasonably broad term, so it's probably worth me putting a little bit of context around that. Middlemarch are the UK's largest wildlife trust-owned consultancy, so everything we do is linked to the value of nature. The value of nature can mean the financial value of nature, but it can also mean the value of nature to us as people, us as a society, something we became all too aware of the importance of in the last few years, particularly with the COVID pandemic. As a proud wildlife trust consultancy, we are here to support the charitable aims of our parent company, part of the Wildlife Trust charity movement. And the aims of the Wildlife Trust really are twofold. They are to bring nature back, and they are to connect people with nature. And it's those two strands really that we seek to support through our commercial activities. Last year, we implemented a new strategic development plan for the business, and a really important change that we made during the rollout of that strategic plan was actually to adopt a joint vision with Warwickshire Wildlife Trust as well. Our joint vision is for a thriving natural world where nature plays a valued role in addressing the climate, ecological, and human health emergencies. So essentially, that is the essence of who we are and what we are. We describe ourselves as a profit for purpose business, and through engaging in commercial activities, we have an ambition to be an ever more valuable Wildlife Trust consultancy, both to our parent company, Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, but to the Wildlife Trust movement as a whole.
Thank you, Tom. And Beth, so how does that kind of tie in with your work with the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust?
So really delighted to be part of this, especially as I think, as Tom has covered off, there's a new strategic development plan for Middlemarch, but also the Wildlife Trust is moving into the second half of our strategy. We have two aims in our strategy, which dovetail into the national strategy of the Wildlife Trust movement. So the broad aims that we have is that we would like more land for nature and more people on nature's side. And I think, as you can tell through what Tom has said, that the work that Tom and his team have been doing, working and aligning Middlemarch with the Wildlife Trust, that actually we are working in synchronization with each other, really. And that kind of synergy has been something that I and the Wildlife Trust board has been working with the Middlemarch board and the current chair of Middlemarch and both executives over the last couple of years. And that work has really deepened our relationship together. So I think in terms of our mission, Warwickshire Wildlife Trust sought to create Middlemarch because what we wanted to do is broaden our reach into a different market beyond the charitable sector, and also broaden our geographical reach. So we're currently restricted by geography, being in Warwickshire, Coventry and Solihull, but that's not the case for Middlemarch. So together, we really want to improve the natural landscape and also generate profits through our subsidiary company to enhance the capacity of the charity. So what we really want is someone who's committed to that charitable mission, but deliver through the activities of the company. So we would really be delighted for someone to join us on that mission.
Thank you, Beth. So, Tom, can you give me a bit of a sense of kind of the scale of the organisation and how the governance works?
I certainly can. The organisation at time of going to press has around 140 full-time equivalent employees. As mentioned before, we are headquartered in Warwickshire, but we have a relatively large presence in London and the southeast of England as well, plus a handful of other sub-teams scattered throughout the UK. So although we are the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust consultancy, 20 years ago, we decided that actually being a UK consultancy was what we wanted. So we do have reach across all elements of the UK. As with any kind of commercial entity, we are governed by a board of directors. So at the moment, there are 10 people on that board of directors. We have 3 executive directors, so myself and 2 colleagues who are embedded within Middlemarch. We also have 3 trustee directors who are trustees of our parent company, Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, and that includes the CEO of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust and the treasurer. And then we also have a series of independent non-executive directors as well. And the advantage of that governance structure is that it really does ensure that any deliberations that we have, any decisions that get made are fair and balanced and consider, the views of both the company and the parent charity. The parent charity is governed by a trustee board, of which Beth is the chair. I may hand over to you now, Beth, just to give a summary of the structure of the trustee board and also any subcommittees involved.
So currently how we're organised is that we have a council, which is essentially our main board, that all trustees, of which there are currently 14 sitting on the board, come together about 5 times a year. And we have one formal subcommittee, which is the Audit and Remuneration Committee, which consists of mostly finance related trustees who have skills in finance. And that is our main subcommittee, which tries to drive some of the activity and deep thinking of broad information that comes from both Middlemarch and the Trust and brings considered recommendations to our full council meeting.
And while we're touching on subcommittees, it's also worth me adding that we have 3 subcommittees that report into the Middlemarch board as well. So we have a development and strategy subcommittee, a people and remuneration subcommittee, and a finance and commercial subcommittee that meets around 3 times per year and report back to the main Middlemarch board.
Thank you, Tom. Give us a sense of what's the culture like of those board meetings?
Very good, very collaborative. I've been an employee of Middlemarch for almost 20 years now, and during my tenure, I've seen the culture at board level change significantly. I've seen the board evolve from a group of individuals from a relatively similar background and relatively similar kind of stages in their career where potentially there's a danger of groupthink and those kind of things. There's a lack of diversity of thought and experience and perspective, to a really vibrant board where we have incredibly skilled, knowledgeable, interesting people from a whole host of different backgrounds. So the board meetings that we have are never dull, and there is always somebody sitting around the table that has a slightly different or slightly unique take on things and a view on things. And to me, that's the epitome of a healthy board. It's the ability to offer constructive, friendly challenge with the benefit of experience. So I would say that it's a very positive and collaborative culture.
Great. And what about the practicalities? How often do you meet and whereabouts?
At the moment, we have 6 board meetings per year, one of which tends to be a board away day. We meet ideally face-to-face. Obviously, we went through a significant period of time where everything was held on Zoom or on Teams, which was a fantastic tool for us all. But in the last couple of years, we've reverted back to face-to-face board meetings, which to me, I think are much more valuable. The meetings tend to be held in the Midlands near to our Warwickshire headquarters. We have some meeting space at the actual headquarters of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, Brandon Marsh, that we use occasionally, but we like to move around a little bit, and we have various hotels and conference centres and venues that we will hold our meetings at. They tend to be full-day meetings. We do provide lunch as well. We're always looking at increasingly trying to identify venues to hold meetings where they're inspiring or they've got a story behind them, and try and find venues that are, compatible with the conversations we have and the vision and the mission that the company has as well.
On the subject of meetings, actually, Tom, over the last couple of years, Rod, the current chair, and I have brought both boards together, but also the executives together to talk about meaty and gritty issues, so knotty issues that we want to thrash out, but also sort of get a sense of alignment. And I think Tom's already talked about that sort of sense of collaboration and working closely together so that, if something comes up, there is an opportunity from the executive and from the board. Actually, we realise that we can lean on each other for expertise and skills, but also we know who each other are. And I think they've been really successful. I think the first one was far more around sort of going around the table and explaining who you are, and then talking very broadly about our wishes to come together. And then the last one, I think, sort of motored on a little bit more with some more knotty topics, actually. And I think we would like to do that, but also have that sense that actually everyone around the table has a voice, because we are one organisation. That's how we would like to work for the future. In the Venn diagram, there is this sweet spot that we can all support each other in the middle for not just our mission, but actually in the day-to-day activity.
A golden thread of our current strategy at Middlemarch is to be an ever better wildlife trust consultancy. And historically, our value as a wildlife trust consultancy has been that the great work that we do generates a financial return for our parent company. But I think both of us want the future relationship between company and parent charity to be more than that, and
Yeah.
for Middlemarch to be able to get our shoulder to the wheel and to support the strategic aims of the charity in other ways as well. And actually, the two entities working more harmoniously and working together and having greater oversight and visibility of who each other are and what we do and how we can collaborate across the two entities to deliver something that's, greater than the sum of its parts has been a real benefit, I think, to the joint meetings that we've been having.
Thank you. Beth, what skills and experiences are you looking for from this future chair?
We're looking for somebody who has experience of chairing boards and committees, also somebody who has experience of the consulting market and a commercial mindset. I think what's really key in this person would be someone who has a good ambition in this kind of space and knowledge very broadly about the kind of work that Middlemarch does. But I think from my perspective, and we did talk a lot about collaboration, I think that is going to shine through as a really important aspect of this person's qualities. We are really looking for someone who wants to collaborate and is a real people person. Middlemarch is a people's business and the Wildlife Trust is a cause-based organisation. So we're looking for someone who has passion and desire to drive both those forward. I think it's really key that we want to say that we would like to be creating an environment where people feel really inspired and valued in their workplace. And Tom and his team have worked really hard on that, as has the current chair. And we really want this person to continue that mission and really strengthen that collaboration and values-based culture in the organisation.
Sounds great. The culture's definitely come across as very attractive from what you've both shared. Do they need to have experience in the environmental sector or environmental consultancy kind of space?
That would be desirable. It's not an essential criteria. We've talked quite a bit about what would make the sort of essential cut, but yes, that would certainly put you above everyone else if you tick all the essential boxes, but also have the environmental sector experience.
Thank you. And I know in the advert it talks a little bit about the ability to advocate for Middlemarch at the highest levels. Tom, could you touch on what sort of networks are you thinking of when you talk about that?
Historically, Middlemarch probably haven't been the best at marketing ourselves and generating brand awareness. And for a company that are the UK's largest wildlife trust owned consultancy, our brand recognition probably isn't quite where it needs to be. We have a strategy that is very ambitious. We have ambitious growth plans. We have diversification plans. So what I'd love to see from a chair is somebody that can help us open doors with new clients, open doors potentially into new sectors, but also open doors in ways where we can potentially demonstrate thought leadership about the things that our people are brilliant at. We've got a fantastic company full of brilliant scientific minds. And what I would love is to be able to give our people a platform to demonstrate what they know, demonstrate the value that they can bring. So partially it's a commercial thing. It's opening doors to networks that will lead to new business. But partially to me, it's also about giving us a platform to be able to further the mission of Middlemarch and the Wildlife Trust through being able to shout about what we're passionate about.
Great. And Tom, you're MD, you'll be working very closely with this chair. What sort of character would you love to see come into this kind of role?
I made a note of some of kind of the key characteristics that I would love to see in a future chair. And the top three things on my list are enthusiasm, passion, and pragmatism. Enthusiasm and passion, I suppose, leads on from what Beth was just talking about, where Beth said that we don't need a chair who comes from the environmental sector. Obviously, it would be desirable to get somebody in who has some background in what we do or an adjacent kind of area of expertise to what we do. But aside from sector expertise, I do think that a successful chair needs to have a real passion for making a difference. They need to have a passion for the environment, because ultimately the environment is everything. And for too long now, I think the environment has been treated as the other. Everyone pays attention to economic factors, but the environment, for something that's, so fundamental to our existence and to who we are, still to me is not as mainstream as it needs to be. So I want somebody who shares my passion for kind of dragging the environment into the mainstream, essentially. The reason I add pragmatism to my list is that Middlemarch are certainly not unique, but it's rare that a commercial entity of Middlemarch's size is owned by a charity. So I think the ability to understand the competing pressures of an ambitious commercial business owned and governed by a charity, and to be able to understand the need to kind of balance commercial versus ethical decisions in the day-to-day activities, I think is really essential as well. Somebody who understands running a people's business as well is absolutely essential to me. I mentioned before that we have a full-time equivalent headcount of around 140 people. I know it's a cliched thing to say, our people are our greatest asset, but our people are our greatest asset. Our people are the ones who are out there doing the work, demonstrating their incredible knowledge, generating the revenues that support Middlemarch and support Warwickshire Wildlife Trust. But our people are also our greatest advocates as well. And people will always be kind of first and foremost in our business and the decision making that goes behind our strategic aspirations. So somebody who understands the value of a people's business and understands the value of supporting and nurturing that talent, I think is pretty essential for me. We've touched on collaboration several times, so I won't go into collaboration in too much detail, but I will say that the relationship between the chair and the MD is of utmost importance. So a successful candidate would be somebody that I can work very closely with and who I can, who can have open, honest conversations with me and who can brainstorm with me and throw ideas around as well. I work at my best when I'm collaborating with somebody and I've got a sounding board that I can bounce ideas off and who can offer kind of constructive criticism as well. And we've been very fortunate with previous chairs, particularly our current incumbent, that we've got somebody who understands the value of that chair MD relationship. So somebody with a collaborative spirit would be greatly valued. And finally, I would love to see somebody come in who is forward thinking. Our sector at the moment is going through a huge amount of change. We have on the horizon the spectre of planning reform and things like that. The sector is probably changing more rapidly than at any time in my career. What I really need from a future chair is somebody who is conscious of that and is someone who always has one eye on the horizon. We always need to be thinking about where the next market opportunity is coming from, where the next opportunity to make a positive difference and work on something nature positive is coming from, who the next target client or target market might be as well. So somebody who is forward thinking, somebody who is ambitious, and somebody who is never content to stand still, I think would be hugely valued.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And I do think these videos are a great opportunity for that person to get to know you a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
To get a sense of who they'd be working alongside. So, Beth, any closing thoughts for those that are watching this video and considering applying to be the chair?
It's a really good question about those sort of closing thoughts, and trying not to repeat what you've said previously, but it's hard not to overstress the fact that Middlemarch is very unique, and in that uniqueness is treading that fine line between commercial sector but having the oversight and parent charity of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust. I probably also want to say a lot of our board is made up from people who have experience in the commercial sector, and we have driven membership on our board in order for us to have that objective view at board level, in order for us to be a good parent charity of Middlemarch. So I think that really helps us to have objective and subjective voices both sides. I really think showing passion in the natural world is really important, and I think that energy towards driving and making a real difference is what trustees are looking for. I can't stress how much I think collaboration is important, both in the sort of modern sense of management. So that sort of empathetic and values-based approach to leadership is really important to me. And I think you can see it's very important to Tom. and that the organisation is based on people. So being able to understand and work well with people across many different drivers and the two different organisations and into the market is really important. It does sound like it's a really unique post, but I'm hoping that those people who listen will actually see that there's a really great opportunity and to work alongside a lot of very passionate people to really make a difference.
Beth and Tom, thank you so much for your time. And I hope for those of you that are watching this, that are considering to apply for the chair role, this has given you a great sense of what Middlemarch is all about. Thank you both. Have a good day.